Hello again and welcome to Suds Country. Hi, I'm Herb Sudson. On this show, I'm very happy to say my special guest is Mr. Merle Haggard. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Herb.
Okay. You've been called a poet laureate, you've been called a champion of the common man, you've been called a singer of patriotic songs. Most recently, you've been called the living legend, an honor bestowed upon you by the Music City News TNN Award Show. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I've been called other things,
yeah.
too.
How do you feel about that?
A lot of nice things, I guess, been bestowed upon me in my life.
That was the living legend, and that was a viewer choice show, you know, so the viewers had to go for that one. And
yeah, that's kind of one that's a little different, you know.
A little bit different than, yeah.
No politics, yeah.
No politics in that one, no. I've read in a bio and different articles that you have traveled down all the rough roads, been in and out of all the tight squeezes, and lived through all the heartbreak that you sing about in your music. Is that true?
Well, I've been through everything I sang about, I guess. Yeah.
That's all your writing is just from personal experiences?
I can't find anything else to write about. I've never been one to make up a song very well, and I have to have experienced it.
Give us a rundown of some early Mr. Haggard real-life happenings that inspired you to write some songs back in the early days. Can you run down a few of the... Like,
I don't know what you mean.
Well, happenings that you have lived through to inspire you to write some songs.
Oh, God,
you can go on for 3 hours.
Time for that.
Something like, all right. How about hopping the freight trains and hanging out in the hobo jungles in early days? You know, you had a lot of that is reflected in your music today.
Yeah, well, it's self-explained in that music. Just have to go listen to it, and it'll tell you what you want to know.
In the early days, you were listening to Lefty Frizzell and Jimmy Rogers.
Yeah.
Did their music influence you in any way?
Well, sure it did.
How about the old High Pocket Band? That goes back a few days.
Oh, that was a little band that I first went to work in, a place called the High Pockets, about as big as this squared off area you got here. But I think it packed out about 40 people.
Where was that? Out in California?
Yeah, Southern California.
What time of your life did you realize that you wanted to get into the music business and that you were a talented songwriter?
Oh, about 18 months old, I guess.
A few days, huh? Let's talk about some of your music. Most recently, The Blue Jungle. Mm-hmm. That's the new one out. Why is it the LP called A Fresh Start for You? I read that in your bio.
Well, we have a new label. We're starting with Curb Records, and we're just releasing that first LP. And we've been on 3 different labels in the 30 years we've recorded, and this is a 4th label and a new start for us.
Okay. What kind of music can be found on this album?
Oh, I'd be pretty sure that you could bet on Merle Haggard music. Yeah.
What issues do you address in this album, on your songs?
Oh, we're writing about the same issues we've been writing about all these years, you know, just life in general.
It says you address life and love in the 1990s. Is that true?
That's true.
That's true. And you address patriotism?
Yeah.
And how about the urban homelessness?
Do that too.
Do that too, huh? What's going to be your first single off that album?
The first single that's been released is called When It Rains, It Pours, and the B-side is a song called Me and Crippled Soldiers.
Talk about that song. I read some. What stirred you up?
It's a song that has to do with the ruling to burn the flag.
Yes.
And what disgraceful ruling I think it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. How about the 8 lines that you had recited at a stage show, and then the next night they were on the news?
Well, we had just some lines that we'd written down, and we recited it on a show because it was not in song form yet, and in just about 18 hours it made its way to network news broadcasts, and so that was a good indication that people wanted to hear that, and we went ahead and made it into a song.
That's pretty interesting. Hey, let's go back, talk about some of your earlier songs, like in 1963, Sing Me a Sad Song on Tally Records. Was that your first national hit?
Well, that was the first thing that we had to go into the charts. Hit parade.
Did you write that song?
No, I didn't. It was written by a former band leader that I worked for, and a guy named Win Stewart.
Oh yeah, he's so good. Win Stewart's a good boy. 1966, I'm a Lonesome Fugitive, your first #1 hit song?
Yeah.
That was your, did you write that song?
No, I didn't write that either. That was Liz Anderson tune.
Oh, yeah,
Lynn Anderson's mother wrote that.
In 1966, you were top male vocalist, Academy of Country Music.
I believe you might be right.
And
back a number of years on me here.
1969, let's talk about Ogie from Muskogee. What made you write that song? That was one self-written.
Well, nobody had written it yet, and I needed to have an original song. So,
where'd you get the idea for that behind the story?
Oh, my family was from Muskogee, Oklahoma, and it had always been something that I think Okie was something like an expression.
Wasn't that a little controversial in those days?
Well, it was taken that way, I think, by some people. This is in the period of do your own thing and pay no attention to nothing, and it was kind of unpopular to be patriotic at the time.
Yeah.
It had some patriotism, a theme of patriotism involved with it, so it was a controversial song at the time, being released in 1969.
Yeah, during the Vietnam era.
Vietnam thing.
That was your first platinum record. That went all the way, pretty much.
Sure did.
And earned you a CMA single and album of the year. You did real good. And you do tribute albums, like Jimmy Rogers, Same Train, Different Time. And Bob Wills. And you yodel?
Oh, a little bit.
Get enough to get by on, huh? Bob Wills was another one. You brought back the Western swing with his music?
Well, it really wasn't all that dead. It just kind of enjoying a recess there, and we brought it back to the period maybe.
How about your gospel album with the Carter family?
That was
Land of Many Churches?
Just kind of a project that we endeavored into do a live recording that was made in 4 different churches throughout America. And it was simply called A Land of Many Churches.
That was a good album. Who else are you going to pay tribute to? You have anybody in mind?
Oh, lots of people. Lots of people we could do tribute albums to.
You paid tribute to Trains? There's an album.
Well, we did an album called My Love Affair with Trains.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It's the one.
I think we just barely got it out before they completely ripped them up.
And that's something?
Yeah.
How about you're going to do an instrumental album with Chet Atkins maybe someday?
Oh, we said something about that in an article. And,
yes, I picked up on that.
Yeah, we might do that. I'm thinking about doing an instrumental album with some of the songs.
How about working duets with Willie and George? That must have been with the Poncho and Lefty album and Yesterday's
Poncho
Wine.
Lefty and Yesterday's Wine. Those were just albums that you might call politically formed albums to begin with, and finally worked out and was recorded, you know. And it's hard, there's a lot of albums that are talked about that never go any further than the talk stage, and those are ones that made it all the way through the ranks.
In fact, Poncho and Lefty reached platinum in 1984.
Yes.
That was how did it feel to work with Willie? He was such a
Willie's a fine guy.
Yeah, he is.
Really nice man, easygoing, laid-back guy that is a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, and how George, the possum?
Well, George, he's the same kind of guy. He's a little more of an outlaw maybe than.
I love playing all these records on my radio show. They're just great.
He never has been, just the neighborhood good boy, but he's somebody I've known and enjoyed for many years.
How about your tribute to Dixieland music? I love Dixie Blues.
Well, that's
what made you go to New Orleans.
Part of me, Dixieland music, Dixieland jazz is something I grew up with, and a thing that we've always loved and wanted
what connection is there between the country music and Dixieland?
Oh well, both of them come from the same area of the United States. You're talking about New Orleans. Jimmy Rogers was the father of country music, which Meridian, Mississippi is not all that far from New Orleans, Louisiana.
No, it's not.
And both of them, I think, have a great black influence and a great American heritage that share the same light nowadays. And I don't see how one could really like country music and not like Dixieland.
That's true.
They're a lot alike.
How about your Apollo 16 mission, moon, with the moon to the moon? What was your voice
Charlie
was used?
Duke requested us to make him a personal tape to take with him to the moon.
That must have been an honor.
That certainly was. And, they listened to our music along with some other music that the other astronauts had chosen, all the way to the big cheese, you know.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, I would like to, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Herb.
It's been a pleasure having you, and
yes,
it's been a pleasure having Merle Haggard as my guest on the show. And this is Herb Sudson. Until next time, we'll see you.